Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Tech Niger FM. And today we'll be talking about legal infrastructure for scale. Um, as it speaks to startup in Africa. And today I'm your host, Babatunde Sonju, and I have with me today one of the respected person in the legal industry, uh, the name Barrister Oluwatodimu Ige, popularly known as Oga the Lawyer. Um, so today we'll be talking about legal infrastructure for scale regarding startup uh, and the growth of a startup, basically in Nigeria and regarding also cross-border. Permit me to welcome Barrister Oluwatodimu Ige to the show. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, sir. Um,
Welcome.
so, regarding this particular topic, legal infrastructure for scale, I want you to first introduce yourself so that our audience can basically know you, know your work, and before we move into the topic for today, sir.
All right. So my name. I'm not sure. Can you still hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you.
My name is Oluwato Dimuige. I'm a legal practitioner here in Nigeria. I am the principal partner at Oluwato Dimuige LP, and I also have a social media forum where I help people and teach law. Basically, the forum is called Oga. That's called the lawyer. I'm there across all the social media. Thank you.
Yeah, so let's go to the topic for today, sir. So when we talk about legal infrastructure, what does that mean for a startup trying to grow in Africa, Nigeria, and Africa as a whole?
Well, when you talk about legal infrastructure refers to a system, it refers to a framework, and it could also refer to institutions that enable businesses to operate, you could say safely, predictably, and efficiently within a given economy. What it means is that, you are setting, it's a legal framework that backs your procedure, your process, refer to your investor friendly. Car is not just about
Uh, Apologies for that. I think it's having a bit of network issue. Uh, so most people would think about legal
okay,
infrastructure. Okay, okay, you're back. Okay,
okay, yes, looks like I was disconnected a bit. Okay,
yes.
so it's not about having in Africa, Nigeria. It's not just about having laws. It is about how accessible, predictable, and supportive those systems are. So a strong legal infrastructure gives startups the confidence to scale and attract investments.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So, most people hear the legal infrastructure and think it's just about contracts, right? But my own thinking around it is like a whole legal system which deals with something like company registration, tax
Mm.
policies, and the likes. So, if you can a bit expatiate further regarding does it mean that when we are discussing about legal infrastructure, we also talked about contracts, company registrations, law that surrounds that particular business, tax policies, and the likes?
Yes, when you talk about legal infrastructure, if you must set up a business, your business must be a legal entity. How do you become a legal entity in Nigeria? Your business must be registered with the Corporate Affairs Commission of Nigeria. That is the sole regulatory body responsible for setting up a business in Nigeria. That means that if you must do business, you must understand how to set up your business. Is it going to be a business name? Is it going to be a limited liability company? Those are the infrastructures that you must consider. That means that you must be registered with the Corporate Affairs Commission. Aside from that, Corporate Affairs Commission, you must also look at your idea, your intellectual property. How protected is your intellectual property?
Mm.
Is it protected under the Copyright Act? Have you trademarked that name and the business? Those are areas that you must explore and consider in terms of infrastructure. You must also look at the tax regime. What tax policies are in operation in the country? How does it favorably impact or unfavorably impact on your business? So those are areas that you must also consider.
Oh, oh, oh.
Yes, so yes.
Wow.
So when it now comes to you have set up your business, your intellectual property, your copyright is protected, you must also now explore or look at your relationship with other persons. That means that's where we bring in the issue of contracts, we bring in the issue of registration with appropriate bodies or authorities that are regulatory bodies of whatever business or solution you are providing. And thirdly, you must also have um, some form of structure when it comes to your contracts. People have dabbled into contracts that are from the beginning has already put an end to their business because of the unfavorable clauses, because of certain conditions that have been put in there that would affect the business. So those are some of the framework that one must look at while setting up a business.
Oh, 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 that's true. Because my own understanding is as a programmer like us, what we basically have idea, and the next thing is let's quickly build solution. Let's quickly build solution. We didn't even sometimes people that are working with us, we didn't even uh give them like a contract. We didn't sign any written agreement that okay, I'm going to give you 5%, I'm going to give you 10% like that. But we're just building it like let's just build this application and let's push it to the market first. Then we can come back and discuss about okay, this is the percentage I'm going to give to you in this particular business and the like. Oh, thank you for that. The other question that I have, like I mentioned just now, people do mistakes a lot when it comes to legal. Um, what are some of the biggest legal mistakes that you've seen that an early stage funders have made? What are the biggest mistakes that you've seen so far?
Well, when you see startups, the a lot of mistakes happen, but I'll just limit myself to about three or five because of our time, and so that I don't lose people in the track of this conversation. Number one is ignoring structure at the start. Like you said, people say, "Oh, I have this app, I have this idea. Let's quickly do it together. Let's talk." Forgetting the skeleton. What they are looking at is, oh, let's just hit the ground running. And most times when you do that, when you ignore structure, the CEO at the time that it started is doing everything. But there will be a point that you will be so big that it might be difficult for you as a CEO to be doing marketing, to be attending to customers, to also be engaging with the regulatory bodies. So that means that you must have a structure. What is the structure? You must have an organogram. What is everybody that is coming on board? What is the responsibilities that is expected of them? What are the do's and don'ts? It must be very clear what every association or relationship that you are in, what it must be spelled out. A business, a legal setup is different from a relationship. The plans, the do's and don'ts must be specifically cleared out. Everybody must have a contract. There must be a working document that everybody is working towards. Our goals, objectives, visions, mission must be properly spelled out so that everyone who sees it knows that this is the working document by which this organization operates. That's why. So people ignore structures. Why would you come in and say, "Oh, somebody's an investor. My uncle wants to give me 100 million," and you don't have an idea of what that relationship is about. It must be very clear that, are you a stakeholder? Are you a sleeping partner?
Yeah.
Your the basis of your relationship and partnership must be spelled out. Don't forget about friendship. People change, circumstances change, but the contract will not change because parties have an idea of their goals and objectives. And by the time they execute this contract, they have a clear picture in mind. So that's one.
Mm.
Number two, many people, I've seen quite a number of terrible contracts. People will just go on Google or ChatGPT and download contracts and say, "Oh, that's it," without necessarily finding out whether it is applicable in the jurisdiction where their business is being conducted. And now,
Mm.
if you are in Nigeria, if it's a transporter contract, we must explore. If it's a transporter contract now, let's talk about you are in Nigeria and the other parties in the UK. You need to be very clear on the regulatory bodies, the arbitrator. So those are factors that copy and paste will not help you. You need
Mm.
to be very sure about what you are doing. The terms and conditions must be spelled out. There are some um, interactions or business relationship that could be legal in the country of, if it's I'm talking about, if it's a tripartite contract and a multiracial or multination, you will see that there are some nations that is applicable, some rules, regulations, some laws are applicable in that place. There was a time it was let's look at an example. For example, currency cryptocurrency was not accepted in Nigeria some years back,
Yes.
and other
Yes.
nations have adopted that. There is no, so if you now input that from a copy and paste contract in respect of a cryptocurrency, it becomes void because it's illegal in Nigeria. And if you receive such payments, you might expose yourself to visitation by the regulatory agencies. So that's on one side. So you must be very careful. That's the mistakes that people make, copy and paste. Number three is poor record keeping. Some
Mm.
people, when documentation is very key. Somebody comes into and for most nations, every nation, every reasonable nation has what we call the labor laws. If you are, I'll give you an example. Here in Nigeria, if you are going to employ somebody as if you have an employee, the law is very clear that such persons must not work with you beyond a month without you giving them their contract of engagement, or you sign a contract with them stipulating in very clear terms the nature of the relationship. And now, some people just say, "Oh, it's my brother, or it's my church member. I know him from my street," and they keep working. And you have exposed yourself. There are some that there is no clear difference between their personal account and the business account. When the taxman comes in, you now see that you have exposed yourself to tax liabilities. There are instances wherein somebody is coming in as a partner. Somebody's coming in as an investor. Somebody is coming in as an equity stakeholder. These things must be very clear. So if there is no
Yeah.
proper record keeping, everything is mixed up. And when there is problem, that happens. Number four is that many people don't legitimize their business. What do I mean? In Nigeria, the law is very clear. The Corporate Company and Allied Matters Act states clearly that no business must operate without first being registered with the Corporate Affairs Commission. Now, if you are not a registered entity and you go into business with somebody else, that means that you have exposed yourself to liability. Now, some people would not have very good and sound ideas. They will refuse to copyright these ideas or even trademark it. And there was a very
That's
recent
true.
case that somebody had a very good name. In fact, they were making a lot of money in Lagos, and they wanted to go to Ibadan and open another branch, only for them to see that somebody else had registered that business in Ibadan. He had trademarked the name. They had not trademarked that name. So the guy was saying, "Come, don't use that name here. I'll sue you." And they said no, because they thought because they were bigger, they can bully. But the law is clear. He was the first in time. He registered the trademark, and he's the owner of the mark. If the only way you can use that mark is to get his license or permission or pay him some money.
Yeah, that's
If
true.
notwithstanding the number of years that you have started. So that's another mistake that many people make. The fact that the name sounds well or is your name or the Holy Spirit gave you the name in your dream doesn't mean that it's exclusive to you. You can only
Mm.
operate with it as a business person if you trademark that name. So I think that we should leave it there at some of the common mistakes that people make.
Yeah, well, that particular mistake also happened to me one time like that in the past, but what I just did was to just let go at that point in time. And I believe I've also had a case like that from a friend of mine. They started an application. They got into Tony Elumelu Foundation mentorship. They got $5,000 uh, worth of investment, and along the line they didn't have a clear uh, agreement. So along the line, the owner of the idea was like, "Guy, if you are not ready to align with my own goal, then you are free to go."
Hmm.
And I just told the guy that, well, it has happened. You don't have any legal, like any document to back your your evidence, should in case you want to shoot this person, because you are just doing it in form of, okay, it's my friend, let's just build it, it's my friend. But I've actually realized that it's more than friendship. Business is business. You
Yes.
either take it or you leave it. There is no family in business. Is either you have an agreement, or from the get-go, let everybody just separate. Thank you for that basic explanation regarding it. My next question will be around you've touched it a bit, but I want you to expatiate more further. Uh, if you are building a startup, but you also want to expand across border. You want to leave, let's say Nigeria as your main entity now. You want to leave Nigeria and you want to move to maybe another jurisdiction. What are the key compliance or regulatory challenges that you think those kind of startup might basically face?
Well, for startups who want to change or who want to, move around, the number one cross-border, of course, it's inevitable that growth will come. Cross-border growth, you have a fintech solution, you need to move to another region or jurisdiction. It comes with new layers of compliance. That's the truth of it. Taxation laws are different everywhere, even in states.
Wow.
Do you understand? We could be in Nigeria and the tax law that govern you in Lagos might be very different from that in Ogun or in Kaduna. Not to now talk of within Africa, Europe, Australia, wherever your scale up is. That's one. When it comes to taxation, we'll talk about another level of compliance that you might have to look at is data protection.
Yeah.
Some jurisdictions don't joke with data protection. And the fact that you are the same company that is scaling up doesn't mean that you can use the data of your customers in a particular region, another way, another in another jurisdiction without their consent and permission being sought. So you must be very clear on the data protection. Another one that you must look at is labor laws.
Yeah.
Every jurisdiction has its own labor laws. There are some jurisdiction that says that you must not have contract staff. They must be fully employed. They must be, some look at it that, I say, oh yes, you can have a contract staff for a period of months. Some will say, oh okay, so different. You need to look at the layers of compliance. Now, an example is some fintechs. You see that you require some certain licenses to operate in certain jurisdictions. As a matter of
Yes.
fact,
Yes.
getting a banking license for the scope of your solution. So it means that, and some will just say, oh, okay, all right, since you are just a fintech, we have a particular, ask you to register with the protection agencies, so many. So what you must look at are one, key compliance issues. You must look at regulatory issues. Yes, that shouldn't deter you from moving. All you just need to do is engage and talk to professionals within that jurisdiction who can properly align you with whatever is going on in that jurisdiction. It's important that you must learn as a smart founder. You must study each jurisdictions and their startup entry rules before any commitment, because for example, in some nations like Nigeria, you could even have some tax exemptions because you are a startup, because you are new. And there are some that the moment you infringe on on the rules and the laws, it might bring a brutal end to that business.
To that business. That's true.
Yes.
That's true. Wow. Wow, that's true. Wow. Thank you for that. Because I remember that we are building a cross-border solution between Canada and Nigeria, and we had to first uh, apply for MSB license in Canada for us to basically even capture fund, uh, acquire fund from customer, pass it through third party before we even settle it in Nigeria. So there are a couple of
Very well.
licenses that we have to, and all these things come with different compliance in
Very well.
different
Yes. Yes.
jurisdiction, and even the tax that they are going to charge you, for example, in Canada, is totally different from the tax that they're going to charge you in Nigeria. So all those things are basically
Mhm.
key, like you mentioned. Oh, that's good. That's good. The other thing that I want to talk about is what's your own view on the role of government and regulatory body in creating more startup friendly environment, especially in Nigeria?
Well, the role of the government is crucial and very important when it comes to encouraging startups,
Yeah.
encouraging SMEs, encouraging people to start a business. Many people shy away from investing in Africa, Nigeria, because of the policy somersaults. Some feel that the atmosphere is not conducive for businesses to come in and survive, because it could be very unfortunate and painful when you have gone around market runs and all that to raise funds, and at the end of the day, investors are not investors are expect returns on their investment. If you are bringing the funds into any nation, we want to be sure that our funds are secured, and there will be no policy somersault. So that means that the government needs to create an enabling environment that
Mm.
supports startups, that supports businesses, so that they can be rest assured. Most of the funds that you raise are long term. You need a breathing period for you to properly invest these funds or in the project, and ensure that they become the incubation period, and of course the growth period, before you then start talking about return on investment. If the policies are not in place, if the laws are not in place that for such investments, investors will lose respect for the system. So the government must ensure that there's a level playing ground when it comes to policies as well and implementation. There should be there should be an ease of doing business. I should be able to even go online and make some necessary registrations to be able to get visas. These are things that the government can put in place. Oh, you are coming in for a business, you are investing money in our nation,
Yeah.
then the procedure should be different from those who are coming in as tourists. Those are
Yeah. That's
incentives,
true.
these are ways that the government can make it easily amenable for people to come into business and run transactions in that nation. So I feel that the government plays a very significant role. Tax shelters are another ways that the government can actually support and help people come into business.
Mm. Thank you for that explanation as well. I was able to capture one or two things with that because when you want to invest in Nigeria, you need to be very careful of because
Yeah.
we've seen a lot of companies, startup companies that will just uh, get the fund, and after a few months, we will just see them they've shut down. So I think uh, the government should do more uh, with regards to their own view and their own role regarding the regulatory body, because like you mentioned, uh, just pick the Binance cryptocurrency as a case study. They started well in Nigeria, but along the line, they face some regulation, right? That they had to shut down their operation, especially in Nigeria. So I think they should do more with that. I have this question from someone, and I want you to help me to explain or how to tackle it. So the person mentioned that when you share your idea or product with others, you risk it being copied or used without your permission, which speaks to like intellectual property when collaborating with third party or external partners. So how can a startup solve that particular issue?
Well, the first step is before you share your idea with anyone, if you have the funding, you should trademark such an idea or copyright it and ensure that you have your necessary certifications. What this does is it gives you some form of protection. Number two is before you share your idea with anyone, ensure that they sign what we call a non-disclosure agreement. That's an NDA.
Okay.
An NDA, what's the duty of an NDA? Is what an NDA does is that whatever I'm giving to you now is for your information, and you have no right to use that information without my permission. You have no right to disclose whatever I'm sharing with you with another party, with any other third party without my consent. If such persons use your idea, if such persons use or disclose such information to other persons who are not ordinarily supposed to be privy to such information, you have a right of action against them. And in law, it's very clear that when there is a breach, there's always a remedy in law. So that's the best way to protect yourself.
Okay, okay. So to audience and listeners, I think with the trademark and the NDA, you can use that to protect your innovation
Very well.
while you're sharing it or you are trying to bring external partners into your startup. I think that goes a long way regarding what you are building and the partnership that you actually want to bring to the table. Uh, Barista, thank you so much. I don't want to take much of your time because I know you're a busy person. If you are to advise like a young founder today, what are the legal principles that they must not overlook?
Um, the truth of it is, if I'm going to be advising young startup persons, anybody interested in bringing in investors or starting up a business, number one is you must look at when you are signing partnership or investor agreements, you must be very clear on equity dilution.
Okay.
What I mean by equity dilution, I'm the owner of the idea, it's mine. It's just I don't have money. How much am I willing to give up from that idea? You just see people who have invested so much and saying, no, I want to give up 50%, 60%, because at that point, the business is still at $0 or is at the barest minimum. That's being myopic. When the business becomes multi-billions, would you be comfortable giving somebody 50%, who is a sleeping partner, when after you have paid salaries, you have done this, you have done that, of course, that's where groaning and negativity comes in. So
Yeah.
before you dilute your equity, you need to be sure of how much you're willing to give up. That's one. Number two is vesting period. If you are giving anybody, you are bringing them to bed with you, you must be very clear. How long are they going to stay with me before they can become part owners?
Okay.
It's not because I shared an idea with you and you're saying that, oh, I'm giving you 20% of it, and the person ups and leaves in 2 or 3 months' time and starts his own, you know that immediately they leave because you have given them part of your business. You have diluted your equity. They are part owners,
Yes.
and you know that way it gives you some for it puts you at a disadvantage.
Mm.
And the exit clauses should be very clear. If you are leaving, I have the first right to buy your shares back and all that. So those are things that you must look at. Board control and voting rights. As a businessman, you must not be myopic. You must think very clear. You might be small now,
Yeah.
but you are not going to remain small. So you build for the future. You must build for the future. You must not think about, oh, what am I going to eat now? So the thing is, as a professional, we starting up, you must never joke with your foundation. Protect your foundation before you chase the funding. It's very
Mm.
important. What do I mean by protect your foundation? Like I said, you have brought in investors, and at the end of it, you have not even registered the business, the idea. I saw a video wherein a lady came in and said that she wanted to run an e-commerce business. And do you know that she sat before the investor and said, the man said, "Oh, do you have a website?" He said, "Yes, I have an idea." And she told the man. The man said, "Oh, look at it. I bought this website." And an e-commerce is the website is the bane or the soul of the life of that business. You don't have the website and you have started looking for investors with the particular name because it was a name that was adapted to the form of business, and you don't have that. So why would you do that to yourself? So as a startup, there must be legal clarity around ownership. It must be very clear. Who is the owner? He's my friend. He said, no, who is the owner? Business has nothing to do with sentiments.
Yes, that's true. I agree.
So around ownership, it must be very clear. Everybody must know that this is the owner. You must also be very clear on contracts, intellectual property. You must never joke with compliance.
Mm.
You might think that you are smart, evading tax, breaking one law or the other. But the day the law will come for you, you might end up having so much exposure that some people have had to shut down businesses or names because of tax implication as a result of infraction over the years. Some are That's those who are even lucky to escape jail term. So it is not a luxury. You understand? Build legally and scale sustainably. I think that would be my advice.
Mm, mm. Build legally. Build
Yes.
legally. I think that's that word alone or that sentence alone is worth millions. Because if you are just building without the legal protection or something like that, then uh anything that can happen to your startup, anything can happen to
Yes.
your startup. And the other thing that personally I can add to it is like always have your agreement in writing. Don't just say, okay, I'm giving you 20% and that's all without any written agreement. It actually it doesn't carry any weight because there's no
Yes.
evidence for that, and without an evidence there is nothing that you can present should in case anything even happen. And lastly, when you are trying to pitch your idea to investors, uh, and or any other person that you think you might want funding from them or something like that, then I think the first thing is for you to first protect the idea. Before you don't have money, investor have money, they can get that idea and push money into it and get it out before you even we even be able to push that. But when you protect that particular idea, it actually goes a long way. It actually goes a long way. Thank you, Barrister, for today. I really appreciate your time for this particular session. uh I hope that when next we have any other topic regarding startup and how compliance or infrastructure can speak to startup regarding this, we'll be able to call on you to also come and help us to expatiate further some of the things that startups should basically do. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you very
Thank you
much.
for having me. Thank you very much.
To our audience, thank you for joining this conversation today. I believe you'll be able to pick one or two things from this particular session as it speaks to startup and how you can navigate your way around the legal infrastructure. Thank you so much. Until next, which is next week Saturday, where we'll be having another episode. Please continue to build, continue to innovate, and I believe we're going to see ourselves at the top. Thank you so much, and bye for now.